Let's picture it for a moment. The Beatles had just performed their legendary rooftop concert. The turbulent Get Back sessions concluded with that unforgettable performance, a moment that symbolized a strange duality. The band seemed to understand they were heading toward a breakup, yet at the same time, the experience had sparked a renewed sense of creative energy. Now imagine an alternate reality, one where they had another major event on the horizon, another show to gear up for. Woodstock. The rooftop concert, held in January 1969, marked their return to live performance after a 3-year hiatus. They had stopped touring in 1966 when the demands became overwhelming. As they grew more immersed in studio work, their music evolved into something too complex and layered to replicate on stage. Albums like Sgt. Pepper or the White Album were simply not made for live performance. They had outgrown the traditional concert format. But when it came time to create Let It Be, the intention was different. The original plan was to write and record a new album quickly and debut it with a grand live show. Yet as tensions within the group mounted, that ambitious idea was gradually scaled back. Even the rooftop concert nearly didn't happen. The band hesitated until the very last minute, when John Lennon reportedly dismissed the uncertainty and insisted they go ahead with it. Between their last official performance and the rooftop event, it seemed the Beatles had developed a form of stage fright. They had grown accustomed to working privately, shielded from external pressures. A setup that likely preserved their increasingly fragile interpersonal dynamics. The thought of returning to the public eye and performing live again seemed increasingly far-fetched. Still, when Michael Lang, Artie Kornfeld, Joel Rosenman, and John P. Roberts began planning Woodstock, they held out a sliver of hope. Indeed, an invitation was extended to the Beatles to headline the festival. The organizers, perhaps overly optimistic, wondered if it might actually be possible. After all, Let It Be was deliberately simpler in style, intended to be performed live, as demonstrated by the rooftop show. Additionally, George Harrison had been spending significant time in the Woodstock area, often visiting Bob Dylan and soaking in the local artistic scene. The festival team may have believed they could persuade him to join the lineup. But why did the Beatles ultimately pass on Woodstock? Truthfully, it's unclear whether the staff at Apple Corp ever seriously presented the opportunity to the band. While the festival's promoters took a shot, they likely knew the odds were slim. By that point, the Beatles were already deeply involved in the Abbey Road sessions. And more importantly, they were in the midst of breaking up. The fractures within the group had become too deep, and there was little chance they would set their differences aside to take on the challenge of a major public performance after years away from the stage. Still hoping to secure at least one Beatle, the organizers later reached out to John Lennon, inviting him to appear with the Plastic Ono Band. That plan also collapsed, partly due to complications after the festival lost its original location in Wallkill, throwing preparations into chaos. Political issues played a role as well. Given Lennon's outspoken views on the Vietnam War, a recent drug-related arrest, and his broader political activism, the U.S. government, particularly under President Nixon, was wary of his presence. Concerned about causing problems for a fledgling festival that was already skating on thin ice, Lennon decided to quietly withdraw, ending what could have been a historic moment in rock history.